Good day, students. Today we're going to discuss Module 6, The Power of the Mind. Outcome of learnings. First, the student will be able to discuss that understanding the different parts of the brain, processes, and functions may help in improving thoughts, behavior, and feelings. Second, explore ways on how to improve brain functions for personal development. And third, develop a personal plan to enhance brain functions. It is amazing how the human brain develops and changes throughout one's life. From infancy to childhood, there are remarkable changes in the brain that influence the development of an individual. The brain of an adolescent is different from an adult. For during adolescence, the brain undergoes major transitions as it is work in progress. Take note of that, work in progress. Compared to adult's brain, that of an adolescent does not grow much in size, but it continues to become more complex until the late adolescence. It is growing through changes that have significant effects on the person's learning and behavior. So, totoo ngang nakakamangha ang utak ng isang tao mula pagkabata hanggang sa pagtanda. Naisip nyo na ba how human brain works? At naisip nyo na rin ba that there are certain things that can really impact the development of our brain, either bad or good things, depending on the environment that we grow up? One thing is for sure right now, kung nagkakaroon ka or meron kang access sa recorded video na to ngayon, definitely your brain is currently working, and it is something that you'll be thankful for. Ang thinking development at learning ay mahalagang parte ng personal development ng isang adolescent. Kaya naman, mahalaga din na maintindihan natin ng ilan sa mga pag-aaral kung paano gumagana ang utak ng isang tao at kung paano ito magagamit sa pagkatuto. Kasama din sa pag-aaralan natin na ang pagkakaroon ng awareness sa brain-related theory ay maaaring makatulong para ma-achieve natin yung mas higit pang pagkatuto. So, are you having the learning to learn mood right now? In this lesson, you will learn the answer to the questions, why should I learn? And how should I learn? So let's start. Anatomy of the brain. We have the brainstem, cerebellum, thalamus, and the cerebrum. The brain and nervous system. So we have the brainstem. Brainstem is broken down into three individual structures. So we have the medulla oblongata at the bottom, we have the pons, and we have the midbrain. Those three are the brainstem structures. Brainstem does two things. First, it is more on basic needs and keeps yourself breathing, circulation going, digestion, and swallowing. All of them can control by the brainstem. Second, there is information coming in. So we have the sensory nerve coming up to the brain and the motor nerve going out of the brain. The brainstem is important in routing the information and filtering what information and sending it to where it needs to go. What is behind the brainstem is the cerebellum. The function is motor control. So as you do sports, for example, the cerebellum is the one giving you the coordination. It also gives you a motor memory. As you learn to ride a bicycle and you remember how to ride a bicycle, that is gonna be thanks to your cerebellum. To keep moving up, let's go now to the thalamus. Thalamus, it is right on top of the brainstem, so the best analogy to come up with is like a router. It is basically sorting data and sending it where it needs to go. If you look below the thalamus, we have the hypothalamus. It is the accountable for homeostasis. Homeostasis is maintaining the body temperature. And right below the hypothalamus is the pituitary gland. It is the one sending hormones like the antidiuretic hormone and the oxytocin. Next, we have the cerebrum. The function of the cerebrum is integration, it making sense of all the data that comes in. Cerebrum is the largest section of the brain and accounts 85% of the brain weight, and it has 4 lobes. The four lobes of the brain are frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and the temporal. When we say frontal lobe, the function is like the boss of the brain. There is emotional control here. It is responsible for thinking, memory, behavior, and your movement. Next, we have the parietal. It is basically in sensation and dealing and reacting to your environment. Next to parietal, we have the occipital. The function of this is vision primarily. Next, we have the temporal. It is gonna be important in language, hearing, and your memories. Brain lateralization or brain dominance. According to the theory of left brain or right brain dominance, each side of the brain controls different types of thinking. Additionally, people are said to prepare one type of thinking to the other. For example, a left-brained person is often said to be more logical, analytical, and objective, while a right-brained person is said to be more intuitive, thoughtful, and subjective. The theory of brain lateralization was developed by Nobel Prize winners Roger Sperry and Robert Ornstein. This theory states that each side of the brain has different specific functions. Habang ang mga tao ay gumagamit both sides, bawat isa ay may tinatawag na dominant sides, which according to the theory, it explains much more his or her behavior, interest, personality, and mode of thinking. At dahil dito, nabuo yung term na left brain and right brain individuals. Here are the some of the characteristics of left brain and right brain individual. Ngayon pa lang, isipin mo na if you are much more on the left or right brain side. Let me give you an example of a test for you to know about yourself. So take a look to a photograph. Which animal you saw first? Now, let's see how your mind works based on which animal you saw first. If you saw a hanging monkey, then the right hemisphere is more active. People with right brain dominance are said to be more emotional, swayed by feelings, and seem to view things and events through feelings. They look at visual references as a whole and then go through details. They are intuitive, believers of imaginations and fantasies, risk-takers, creative, and unpredictable. They tend to be disorganized, unable to make clear their decisions or priorities, and lack time management. This means that you are a creative person who is full of innovative ideas. When faced with a problem, you rely more on instinct than your critical thinking. To you, your journey is more important than the goal. It is important for you to get a reality check every once in a while and to pay attention to the world around you. If you saw the head of a tiger, then the left hemisphere is more active than the right. People with left brain dominance are very organized, logical, and detail-oriented. They process ideas in a methodical step-by-step manner, and this enables them to commit less mistakes. These favor rigid schedules and deadlines. They are more auditory learners or better at using words to remember things rather than visual aids. So this means that you are an analytical person, a very goal-oriented when faced with problems. You tend to be logical or reasonable, calculative, and objective. However, sometimes, because you know that the decision you made was made after a lot of thinking, you tend to be inconvincible, masyado kang insistent, so it is advised to hear the opinion of others and take it into a consideration too. So remember that a little humility goes a long way. Here's the other personality traits of left and right brain dominant people. Body language experts believe that there are other behavior of a person that says a lot about the person you are. So we have the some brain dominance test. It says the behavior of a person that tells the way you clasp your hand, so which hand is on top, left or right. The way you cross your legs, which leg is on top. Looking at object and one closed eyes, so which eyes is still open. The theory's advantages and disadvantages. Advantages. It give us a picture of how the two hemispheres of the brain distinctly function. It provides an understanding of what areas an individual is naturally good at and where he or she needs to improve a focus. Upon knowing the brain inclination or to which brain a person is affiliated, he or she could think of ways to boost strengths and compensate for weaknesses. Disadvantages: being stereotyped as a left brain or a right brain will cause self-fulfilling prophecy. What is self-fulfilling prophecy? A prediction that directly or indirectly causes itself to become true by the very terms of the prophecy itself due to positive feedback between belief and behavior. Ang self-fulfilling prophecy ay maaaring maka-impluwensya sa tao dahil sa sobrang paniniwala nila sa kung ano ang pagkakakilala nila sa sarili nila at base sa kinalabasan ng prediksyon o resulta katulad ng brain test. There is nothing good or bad about either preference. Both orientations can be equally successful in accomplishing a single task. However, one may be more appropriate over the other depending on the situation. Remember that the two hemispheres of the brain do not work in separation. Rather, they work together and balance each other. So, while you may seem to possess more traits than you can identify with the other hemisphere, you will surely also possess traits from the other. As a matter of fact, there is a counterpart argument to the theory of brain dominance, wherein the two hemispheres of the brain are believed to work together as a system instead of in competition with each other. So whether you are a left or right brain individual, there is no reason to argue or compete with others. Just celebrate your uniqueness and your potential and continue to improve yourself. The key to growing the brain. From the first day they are born, babies are hearing people around them talk all day, every day, to the baby and to each other. They have to try and make sense of these strange sounds and figure out what they mean. In a way, babies are exercising their brains by listening hard. That's why baby don't know yet the single word like sorry, no, beautiful eyes, etc. It's because their brains are just starting to exercise. At first, they just make goo-goo sounds, then words start coming. And by the time they are 3 years old, most can say whole sentences almost perfectly, as simple as mama, inom akong tubig. So once children learn a language, they don't forget it. That's why be careful in speaking words that are not appropriate to kids, especially bad words. The brain has changed. It has actually gotten smarter. This can happen because learning causes permanent changes in the brain. The baby's brain cells get larger and grow new connections between them. These new, strong connections make the child's brain stronger and smarter. Just like a weightlifter's big muscles make them strong. Meaning, the more na tumatanda ang isang tao, the more na mas nade-develop yung way of thinking. Example, kung dati hindi mo alam na hindi pala nakakain ng kamay, well now you know because your brain is smarter than where you are a child. The real truth about smart and dumb. So no one thinks babies are stupid because they can't talk. They just haven't learned how to yet. Some people will call a person a dumb if they can't solve math problems or spell a word right or read fast. Even though all these things are learned with practice, sorry for the word, but please stop saying bobo or tanga because no one's as such words like that. Ang kailangan lang natin is practice. At first, no one can read or solve equations, but with practice, they can learn to do it. And the more persons learn, the easier it gets to learn new things because their brain muscles have gotten stronger. So, kapag nasanay na tayo na natututo tayo, madali na sa atin ang makadiscover ng mga new ideas. You can learn something difficult until you find one topic easier because your brain muscles gotten stronger. We are all smart when somebody says, that's the smartest students in the class. They don't realize that any other students can learn to do as well if they exercise and practice studying as much. So even geniuses, they started sa basic. So hindi yan yung pagkapanganak, nakakabasa ka na agad or magaling ka na agad. So remember, all of those other students learn to speak at least one whole language already. Something that grown up find very hard to do. They just need to build up their reading muscles too. Kaya wag tayong mainggit sa mga matalino or magaling dahil lahat sila pinaghirapan nilang matuto. Even na learning is a process, hindi ito instant na overnight lang mangyayari sa'yo. It's not yet too late. Read books, dictionaries, articles with your lectures, and I assure you, your brain will get smarter than before. What can you do to get smarter? Just like a weightlifter or a basketball player, to be a brain athlete, you have to exercise and practice. Walang magaling na hindi dumaan sa exercise or practicing. Sabi nga nila, practice makes perfect. Also, by practicing, you make your brain stronger. You also learn skills that let you use your brain in a smarter way. Just like a basketball player learns new moves. But many people miss out on the chance to grow a stronger brain because they think they can't do it or that it's too hard. Ma'am, ang hirap. Well, give yourself a chance to try. Walang mangyayari kung hindi mo susubukan. Let me show you another powerful thinking tool by Tony Busan. Mind mapping. Mind map is a thinking technique used to visually organize information. It is a creative and logical way of organizing thoughts and ideas in your mind through a diagram. A mind map usually revolves a central subject, major ideas in the form of images and or words, and branch out from the main subject. So let me show you a sample of mind mapping. So here is the main topic or the main subject here is the mind mapping and benefits, planning, creativity, productivity, and collaboration. Binranch out natin yung mind mapping into 5. So ito po yun. So nakita nyo, nilagyan siya ng color. Then yung planning natin, binranch out pa ulit natin siya. So makikita nyo na gumamit tayo ng mga images or representation ng bawat words or term na ginamit natin. And gumamit din tayo ng iba-ibang color to make it more appealing. There are 2 types of mind mapping. First, we have the handwritten. So these are the traditional mind maps made using the hands. Some suggest that these mind mapping techniques better suits the left-brained people, as the handwritten maps are generally words-based and have less visual adds-on compared to their counterparts. There are pros and cons in making a handwritten mind mapping. The pros: first, there is a personal touch, uniqueness, and individuality as compared to digital or computerized mind maps. Products are basically unique and distinctly based on one's style, design, and skills. Second, it requires only simple materials like paper, pencils, and or colored pens. Third, one can easily put on what is in his or her mind at the spur of the moment. Then the cons: there is difficulty when one wishes to edit or modify it. Second, handwritten mind maps can be less presentable. Second type of mind mapping, we have the computerized or the digital. They are modern mind maps through computers or similar gadgets and computers application. Some believe that this type better suits the right-brained individuals as they allow much creativity and more visual accompaniment. So meron din tayong pros and cons sa paggawa ng computerized or digital mind mapping. So the pros: number 1, it can easily be edited, modified, and updated. Second, it appears to be more formal and presentable in nature as it can be used as presentation in formal occasions. Third, it can be done easily if one is knowledgeable in computer applications. It may allow more information and details. Then we have 2 cons. First, it requires a certain level of computer literacy and knowledge on computer applications. And second, it may be readily available when needed since it needs to be printed or presented using devices. In making a mind map, you have to decide on what type of mind map you will create. Think of the main idea for your mind map, add branches to the main idea, supplement with keywords, every word must accompany with keyword, and incorporate colors into the branches, then attach images. Steps in creating basic mind maps. First, write the title of the subject you are exploring in the center of the page and draw a circle around it. Second, draw lines out of the center circle to label major subject matters about making presentation. Third, draw additional lines that will connect to the lines for major topic. Fourth, for individual facts or ideas, draw lines out from the appropriate heading line and label them. And lastly, as you come across new information, link it to the mind map appropriately. How to use mind maps effectively. Use single words or simple phrases. Print words. Use color to separate different ideas. Use symbols and images. And use cross-linkages. So here is the example of the mind map. Food for thought. The mind is just like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets and the more it can expand. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. That's it for today, so I hope you learned something. Bye!
Happy learning at home with lessons made easy by Olivarian GoTeach. One proud Olivarian.